I left my daughter by the pool in the yard, so please take care of her.
It was a scorching hot day. My sister-in-law, who had been using me as a substitute babysitter, called me out of the blue. To my surprise, she had somehow entered our property without permission.
Take care of her for me.
She left her daughter alone and had already gone out. I hurriedly explained, "I'm currently out shopping." But the call had already ended. Rushing back home, I found my niece floating face down in the pool. As a fellow mother, I absolutely cannot forgive this. I vowed to give my sister-in-law a thorough reprimand. My name is Charlotte, a 32-year-old stay-at-home mom. My husband works for a major company and is living by himself away from the family. I've been taking care of our 4-year-old daughter on my own. Our in-laws live nearby, and our relationship with my husband's sensible and kind parents is good. However, ever since my sister-in-law Eleanor returned to our in-laws' house with her 3-year-old daughter Nova, we haven't interacted much. And Eleanor is quite a character. She's separated from her husband, Logan, and they're going through divorce mediation. According to her, Logan mistreated both Eleanor and Nova on a daily basis, which led her to escape and seek refuge here. Given that we hadn't been closely involved with Eleanor's family, I was surprised when I heard her story. Logan seemed serious and kind. Nevertheless, Eleanor is now living with our in-laws while preparing for the divorce and searching for work. Initially, I sympathized with her situation and said things like, "Let me know if there's anything I can help with."
Hey there. Charlotte, can you take care of Nova again today?
While I hesitated, I replied, "Yes." As Eleanor dashed away in an instant. Ever since she returned home, Eleanor had been saying,
"I'm job hunting."
And naturally, she started leaving Nova with me. Our in-laws were still working and couldn't babysit, and initially, I willingly helped by looking after Nova. However, as weeks went by, Eleanor started relying on me for kindergarten drop-offs, baths, and dinner 2 or 3 times a week, and that's when I began feeling frustrated.
Charlotte, thanks again today.
One day, Eleanor arrived early in the morning to drop off Nova. I finally stopped her as she turned away from me. Eleanor, it's been almost 3 months since you started leaving Nova with me. Have you found a job? Determined to speak up this time, I gently asked.
Not yet. Good jobs are hard to come by.
Without even looking at my face, she shrugged dismissively. In that case, it would be helpful if you could take care of Nova yourself a little more. It's becoming quite frequent, and it's challenging for me too. Eleanor pouted, her cheeks puffing up, and retorted.
What? You said you would help me. Was it a lie?
Before I could finish, she crossed her arms and shot me a cold glare.
You're a stay-at-home mom, and you have a child around the same age. The effort is the same, isn't it? Just keep quiet and take care of her.
Her words stung, and I felt irritated. Looking after someone else's child is considerate and still challenging. Going forward, please try to handle Nova on your own as much as possible. With a firm tone, I conveyed my message. Eleanor, who had been angry until then, suddenly burst into tears, covering her face with her hands.
Charlotte, that's awful. I'm separated from my husband, enduring this for Nova's sake. And yet, you say such things.
Seeing her distressed expression, I realized I might have gone too far and felt apologetic. Understood. I probably said too much. I'm sorry. Honestly, I was still frustrated, but in the end, I couldn't refuse, and I ended up taking care of Nova that day. Eleanor, who had been tearful moments ago, left with a cheerful demeanor. Was that crying act just a ruse? Feeling somewhat deceived, I had no choice but to suppress my unpleasant feelings. As summer vacation approached, Eleanor began leaving Nova with me every day. While it was heartwarming to see my daughter and Nova getting along and playing together, constantly caring for a young child alone became exhausting, leaving me unable to even go shopping. One day, when Eleanor came to pick up Nova in the evening, I noticed her hair was neatly styled, and her skin had a healthy glow. Curious, I asked, "Eleanor, what were you doing today?" Eleanor nonchalantly replied,
I went to the beauty salon and had an aesthetic treatment. It was relaxing.
I was taken aback. Despite my daily responsibilities, I hadn't found time for self-care. My hair was always haphazardly tied up, and I hadn't even bothered with makeup. Eleanor, isn't that a bit unfair? If you have time for beauty treatments, you should take care of Nova yourself. My frustration got the better of me, and I raised my voice. Eleanor retorted,
Well, I need breaks too.
You don't understand. I don't have any breaks. I don't even have time for a haircut. Please think more seriously about this. As I vented my pent-up feelings, Eleanor burst into laughter, mocking my appearance.
Oh, your hair looks damaged, and your skin seems tired. You appear older than your age. Be careful. You might lose your husband if you keep neglecting yourself.
I hadn't expected this attitude from her. While I was still stunned, Eleanor took Nova home with her. My anger wasn't subsiding and I felt like I was reaching my limit, so I told my husband and parents-in-law the whole story. It seemed that my husband and parents-in-law had no idea what was going on, and they immediately apologized to me and said they would tell Eleanor off. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that Eleanor would stop coming to drop off my child, but it was short-lived. Soon Eleanor appeared at our house, leaned close to me and glared at me.
Hey, you told Mom, Dad, didn't you?
I nodded and was about to reply. But that's because... But she cut me off.
It's pointless to tattle to the family. Just do as I say. As punishment, take care of Nova today.
With that arbitrary demand, Eleanor thrust Nova upon me and swiftly left. On another day, I decided to take more assertive action. I left the house with my daughter earlier than Eleanor's usual arrival time. It seemed she gave up and went home when she found me absent. I thought, finally, I'm free. I won't have to see Eleanor anymore. But a week after implementing my strategy, something unexpected happened. On a scorching day, I set up a kiddie pool in the yard to let my daughter play. While shopping at the mall with my daughter, I received a call from Eleanor.
I left Nova in your yard pool. I'm already out. Hurry back and take care of her. Got it? It's so hot.
I was dumbfounded by her sudden announcement and managed only a confused, "Huh?" in response.
Well then, take care.
To my shock, Eleanor had entered our property without permission, leaving 3-year-old Nova alone. She hung up before I could explain that I was still shopping. Today was a cloudless sunny day, and the temperature was rapidly rising. I can't leave Nova like this. It's dangerous. I hurried back home in a panic. As soon as I reached the yard, the sight that met my eyes filled me with despair. Nova was floating face down in the pool. I quickly arranged for Nova to be taken to the emergency room while accompanying her. The weight of her body as I held her stayed with me. What if something happens to Nova? Despite multiple attempts, I couldn't reach Eleanor on the phone. Trembling, I waited outside the treatment room when a nurse, slightly younger than me, approached me. Her serious gaze revealed something shocking. Listening to her story, my frustration boiled over. So that's what happened. As a fellow mother, I absolutely cannot forgive this. I resolved to thoroughly reprimand Eleanor for her actions. Half a day later, I faced my husband's parents at our in-laws' house. Eleanor's cheerful voice interrupted the somber atmosphere.
I'm home.
She entered the living room, surprised to find us all dressed in black.
What's with the morning attire? Is someone's funeral happening?
My in-laws and I looked at Eleanor in silence. Earlier today, when Eleanor called, I was out. I rushed back, but it was too late. Nova was floating face down in the pool. I conveyed this heartbreaking news in a small voice, and Eleanor's face turned pale.
What? What are you saying? There's no way Nova could drown in such a shallow pool.
She immediately shook her head, denying my words. Perhaps she thought I was lying. I stepped forward, closing the gap between us. Children can drown even in 0.5 feet of water. It's unforgivable to take your eyes off them during water play. Eleanor trembled but quickly reddened her face, gritting her teeth.
Unbelievable! How could you let this happen? It's all your fault! Your negligence caused this!
Despite leaving 3-year-old Nova unattended in our yard pool, Eleanor accused me as if I were the villain. I couldn't help but exclaim, "What?" Turning her gaze to her parents, she said,
I did indeed leave Nova with her. But Nova's death is her fault.
Eleanor shifted her gaze away, suddenly flustered. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from earlier, the evidence of Eleanor leaving Nova with me. My father-in-law's angry voice echoed.
You knew Charlotte was out, and you left Nova behind.
Eleanor stumbled over her words. As we all glared at her, she looked down, visibly distressed.
Wait! Is this going to be a crime? No, I don't want to get caught.
Eleanor's lack of concern for Nova, even in this situation, left me exasperated. She's beyond help. Do you have anything to say to Nova? I asked, but she remained speechless. Realizing that further questioning Eleanor would be futile, I walked past her and knocked on the adjacent room's door. Please come in. The person who emerged from the room made Eleanor gasp and widen her eyes.
Logan! Why are you here?
The person I had secretly invited was Eleanor's estranged husband, Logan, currently in the midst of divorce proceedings. His clenched fists and intense expression resembled that of a demon.
Handing Nova over to you was a mistake.
Logan's voice trembled as he confronted Eleanor, who stood frozen in shock.
You falsely accused me, portrayed me as the villain, and then took our daughter away. What are you doing?
His anger radiated. Eleanor, shielding herself, pleaded.
Don't hit me! You ever abused us! Don't lie in front of Mom and Dad!
I played another recorded conversation from my phone. Eleanor's mocking voice filled the room.
My husband is wealthy but boring as a man.
The audio continued.
I'll fabricate wrongdoing, squeeze alimony and child support out of him. Mediators always side with wives unconditionally. It's a piece of cake.
Eleanor trembled, lips quivering, as she listened to her own ugly words.
What's this? Why do you have this?
It was a recording given to me by Alice, a nurse and Eleanor's former classmate. Alice had approached me at the hospital where Nova was taken. Eleanor stammered.
Alice.
I explained that Alice lived nearby and had recorded Eleanor bragging about framing her husband. Alice couldn't tolerate it and shared the evidence.
Damn it! That traitor Alice.
Eleanor's anger flared. I looked straight at her. Eleanor, you've told quite elaborate lies. Logan confirmed. Logan.
Exactly. I want a divorce, but I'm worried about Nova. I was at my wit's end.
Eleanor insisted.
No! He did terrible things to us. Don't lie in front of Mom and Dad.
Despite her desperate excuses, Logan's unwavering gaze revealed her falsehoods. His eyes held intense determination and anger.
I earned a living and worked hard at parenting Nova. You, a stay-at-home mom, played around and did nothing.
Eleanor retorted, but I stepped in to prevent a confrontation. What were you doing while I took care of Nova every day? I asked. Eleanor hesitated, her usual bravado absent.
Well, I was job hunting.
She began. As her excuses dwindled, I sighed deeply. More lies. So, what's this? Logan placed several photos on the table, images of Eleanor arm in arm with a young man entering a hotel. Logan.
I suspected Eleanor when she suddenly demanded a divorce, so I hired a detective. This is the result.
His voice shook. Eleanor's face turned pale. You've been cheating since before your separation. And you left Nova with me daily to meet your lover. Apparently, it was all true. Eleanor could only murmur.
Ugh.
Her guilt was evident. Finally, you abandoned your child by the pool. You're not fit to be a mother, or even a decent human being. I raised my voice, expecting remorse. But Eleanor's response was unexpected.
Shut up. It's not my fault. Nova died because of you. Now I'll lose child support too.
She lashed out, leaving Logan, my in-laws, and me dumbfounded, collectively sighing in disbelief. Nova is alive. She's currently under observation at the hospital. Yes, it turns out that Nova was in a dangerous situation but managed to survive. Eleanor exclaimed.
What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Phew, that's a relief. Now I won't be charged with a crime. So, which hospital is she in?
Upon learning the truth, Eleanor's relieved expression infuriated me. She cared more about herself than her daughter's life, a truly exasperating attitude. Logan, her estranged husband, intervened.
I won't let you see Nova. I have evidence, and I'll present everything during mediation. Even if it means going to court, I'll fight for custody.
When I remarked that Eleanor had no chance of winning, she looked stunned. My father-in-law declared.
We're cutting ties with you. Leave this house.
My tearful mother-in-law added.
You're no daughter of mine.
As Eleanor stood there, shocked by their disownment, distant police sirens grew louder. Eleanor protested.
Wait. They're approaching. She's alive, so I won't be charged, right?
I glared at her and calmly said, leaving a child in a dangerous situation is a crime. I called the police. You must face the consequences. As the sirens closed in, Eleanor trembled, covering her mouth. She wailed, clinging to my in-laws, but they coldly pushed her away. She couldn't escape, and we all watched as the police took her into custody. Afterward, Eleanor faced severe consequences, with a criminal record. Logan won custody of Nova through mediation. He demanded $30,000 in alimony from Eleanor. Her affair partner faced similar claims, leading to their breakup. Eleanor was evicted from our home and now lives in a rundown apartment, working multiple jobs to repay her debts. Despite her financial struggles, I felt no sympathy for her. A year later, my husband and I are raising my daughter together. When Logan visits my in-laws with Nova to show my in-laws, we play as a family. We hope for a peaceful life with our loved ones.
How did you like this story? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time.